My grandfather killed himself. My mother was 5 years old. I grew up with this story. It was just something that was just part of our family history that wasn't hidden, wasn't brushed under the rug. In fact, my mother reminded us of it quite often. Now, my grandfather suffered from depression. And what I learned later when I was starting to do my own genealogy studies and trace my own family history is that depression is hereditary. Now, my mother struggled immensely with depression growing up. I often heard her say that she wanted to commit suicide. My sister and I would flip a coin to see who was going to check the bedroom to find out if she had actually done it that day. So it was a very serious, constant, chronic situation in our household. Now, as I began to get older, I realized that it had passed down to my siblings and myself as well. Now, it manifests differently in everybody, but each one of us had our own version of this depression. Now, my mother's case was severe, chronic, just down, just depressed, kind of hopeless. Where with me, I got a lot more of the extreme highs and extreme lows. So through my teenage years, I had a lot of manic episodes where I was up, right? And that up came with a hyperactivity. And then the downs were so low, suicidal low, just dark, really depressing low. And when I started tracing my family history, what I actually found was not only did my grandfather kill himself, but so did his siblings. I believe it was 4 out of the 5 of them. And then as I began going through the family history, I found dozens of suicides in our family. And what I want to share, I know this is a very heavy, very serious topic. What I want to share, though, is some light on this. I want to share some help and some hope with this. So for me, not only did I have this this interesting thing during my teenage years, which definitely led to being more promiscuous. Was still a very, really, I did well in school. I wanted to please the family, but I did have those kind of manic episodes, those up and downs that would lead me to some impulsive behavior. And then in my early 20s, I was actually married and noticed that this was increasing, the extreme highs and the extreme lows. And after a certain period of time, I wound up addicted to prescription medication. Now, this prescription medication was given to me by doctors who were treating me for pain. They were treating me for depression. I had muscle relaxers and painkillers and antidepressants and sleeping pills and, just so much. So this addiction was developed by doctors, but it was still very much became a very physical dependency. And it took a lot to get off of that. After being on all that for a decade, I was getting to the point where it was hard to wake me up anymore in the morning. And I was worried that I actually wasn't going to wake up one day. And I didn't want my children to find me like that. That was my biggest fear, is that not that I would die, but that I would die and my children would find me. And so there was just one day when I said, you know what, I'm sick and tired of this, checked myself into a center, got help with it. And that was a decade ago, and I'm doing great. But I do believe that people that are prone to this type of depression are also more prone to chemical dependencies. And I think we have to pay really close attention to this with our children, with ourselves, with our spouses, with our friends, because I do think that there is a type of personality that is more prone to that. Most of the people I know that struggle with any kind of depression, manic depression, bipolar disorder, any of these diagnoses, many of them struggle with addiction as well. So it's just something to kind of keep an eye out for. For me personally, it's very interesting because being prone to this and means that I just have to fight a little bit harder. I am a very optimistic person. I'm a very hopeful person. I naturally want to get up and get going and get at it. I have multiple businesses. I've always been an entrepreneur, had the entrepreneurial spirit, and had my own businesses over the years. Was married twice to alcoholics, both of them, which is another tendency with people with this type of personality. We tend to attract that kind of codependent partner. And I'll tell you now, I've been single now for 2.5 years, 2 years officially divorced, 2.5 years out on my own. And I keep my eye out for it. I'm really, really careful to watch for, if I'm out somewhere and somebody catches my eye, are they drinking? And not that they can't, but I'm watching for, signs early on that there might be an addictive personality there, because I know that I can't bring that into my world. Doing so well and having been done so well now for nearly a decade, I don't want to be in that environment. So for me, when it comes to fighting off this chemically hereditary chemical, I do believe it's a chemical brain reaction, this hereditary disease. Clearly, when multiple siblings of the same family commit suicide and several other around there is a some people say it's a curse. I believe there is a hereditary thing that gets passed on to people. And so this morning is a great example. I noticed with myself that when I eat the wrong foods, if I suddenly change my sleep habits, so I'm out later, or I'm up later working, or I'm watching TV, or whatever it happens to be, and then for several nights I'm up later and I'm not getting a good night's sleep, that's a problem. I'll wake up funky in the morning, or even if I got enough sleep, sometimes even too much sleep, I get into this kind of like this super intense dream state, and coming out of that dream state, I immediately have negative thoughts before my eyes are even open. And I have to be so aware of that. Today was one of those days. So this morning, as soon as I opened my eyes, I was remembering a dream I had just had. And the dream I had just had was about a male figure that's been in my life for the last decade, somebody I feel that kind of looks down on me, right? And in my dream, it was that type of thing, that I wasn't doing good enough with something. And so that kind of thing was festering in my brain a little bit this morning. So I actually stopped and said a prayer. Please help me get out of this today. Don't let me live in this funk. I need to get up and get moving. And then I laid there and thought about all the things that I'm so, so grateful for, because I've got an incredible life. And I earn 6 figures as an affiliate marketer. I have a real estate business. I get to create content marketing every day. I've got 7 streams of income that give me energy and stability and are exciting and fun. Got a beautiful teenage daughter that still lives at home, and an adult daughter that lives down the street from me, and a cat that I love very much. And I just love my life. It's really a cool life. I can just go out to the pool whenever I want, to the jacuzzi, or take a walk. I have no pressure, no time restraints, no appointments. It's really cool. So there's absolutely nothing to be upset about when I open my eyes in the morning. It's like a chemical thing. And so after that, I started rattling off things I was grateful for. This is before ever stepping foot on the ground, because that reset, that rewiring had to happen. And once I did all of that, I still wasn't like amazingly happy, but I was starting to come to a little bit and to feel a little bit better. And I knew that I could not lay in that bed. I had to get out of bed. And I think that is one of the most critical things that you can do when you're prone to any kind of depression, is get out of bed and get moving. So I got up, got out of bed, made myself some coffee, and started working on the computer. But I still felt irritated for no reason at all. There just wasn't any reason for it. So I knew that it was going to take more today to get rolling. So I did an hour. I created a blog. I made my video, which I do every day. And then I said, all right, Lori, get up, get moving. So I put on my workout my workout outfit, and went for a walk. And I went on this nice 1 hour walk around my area, which is beautiful, and went to the park. And honestly, that pretty much got me where I needed to be. After the walk, I came in and I just stayed active. I knew I just could not sit down and just work on my computer today. I had to stay active. So I did laundry, cleaned up the house, made my daughter some lunch. And after a couple hours of doing all of that, I went out to the pool, got some sun, went in the jacuzzi, and now I'm back in here making a video because this is work for me. So now I'm making a video again. And then in a little while, I'm going to go out. And again, this is something I have to force myself to do because my nature is I want to cancel everything. Whenever I have the slightest feeling of insecurity, aches and pains, which I get, I don't want to do anything. It feels like everything. It feels like so much work. And for me, some of the biggest things are just taking a shower and putting on makeup. I can't stand putting on makeup and doing my hair. It feels like such a waste of time, and I'm not great at it, so it's aggravating. So I'll sit there and tell myself, oh, you don't need to go tonight. Don't go tonight. It's going to mess up your schedule anyway. Or I just tell myself a million reasons why I shouldn't go to whatever it is I committed to go to. And there's usually somebody else involved, right? And so then I'm thinking to myself, well, you don't want to let them down. You're always canceling. You don't want to not go, So I had to do all of these things sequentially to get myself straightened out and back to normal. And now I'm good. I'm up. I'm working. I'm happy. I feel fine. I'm going to go to these dance lessons tonight that I wanted to go to with my daughter, and it's all good. But I think it's important to talk about because, you see people like me. For those of you that know me, and some of you might just be finding me for the first time, and you think, oh my gosh, she just has everything, and I think it's important to say, no, I have, my grandfather committed suicide and my mother wanted to her whole life, right? Still to this day, still tells us she'd rather be dead. You grow up with that, and you have to process, understand, and then you have your own physical, reaction. And for me, I just won't do it. I will not allow myself to be a victim. I will not allow myself to live in that dark, funky, negative energy that just kills any positive motion that you would have, I mean, I look at some of my family members who have chosen to accept this. They just accept the label of their condition as a chronic lifetime condition. You're going to be medicated and you're going to need this. And, they just kind of cradle it, I guess, if you will. And for me, I've just gone such the opposite direction. No, I don't want to be sick. I don't want to be labeled and carry myself that way. I just won't do it. Do I believe depression is real? Yes, 100%. 100%. I don't personally, and I know I'm going to get some backlash for this, but I don't personally believe somebody who kills himself was selfish. I think they're hopeless. And until you've ever been in that darkest corner of your mind where you just feel like there's nothing left, even if you have family, even if you have children, even if you have spouses, I can't explain it. I've been there more than once. When you get in that dark spot, you just don't see those things the way they are. Your mind tells you a different story. Your mind tells you, they would be better off without me. I'm a problem for those people. Whatever the situation is that's so dark. It's I do think it's selfish to go through life and tell somebody else, especially your children, that you want to die. I lived that growing up, and I do think that's selfish. I think if you're actively struggling with depression, you've got to do whatever you need to do to go get that in check so that it doesn't affect everybody else around you. There's a lot of help out there today so whatever it is, maybe it's medication, maybe it's doctors, maybe it's out treatment, maybe it's in treatment, and then it's a choice that you say, hey, you know what? This is my whole life. I'm going to have this. My whole life, I'm going to have this. This isn't going to go away. There's no cure. There's no way to solve it. So what are the things that I can do in my life that are going to make the symptoms less severe? Exercise, eating right, opening my windows. That was another thing today. I got up and I opened all my windows. Light. I have to let the light in. Got to get light in. For some people, they need to get around other people. I don't really need that so much, but some people need to get around other people, and that's what gives them their energy. Music, right? Just turning on music can make all the difference in the world. But the bad things are going after that junk food and that sugar and all those carbs that just make you feel worse and worse later. That is a chronic condition. That's why a lot of the depressed people are also overweight, or they struggle with eating disorders because of that same reason. And just sitting there in that dark funk is the worst. I mean, I cannot tell you how many times I saw that as a child, that my mother just didn't get out of bed. She just wouldn't get out of bed, and I just told myself when that stuff started happening to me that I have to get out of bed. Even if it's just from moving from my bed to my chair, right? There's sunlight out here. Even if all the windows are closed, there's sunlight out here. It's those little things. And when you do those positive things, one thing leads to the next. This is a very unusual video for my channel. I am an internet lead generation trainer. I teach people how to generate business on the web and how to do affiliate marketing and blogging and content marketing. This is really not my normal type of video. So I'm kind of testing to see whether I want to put more of these on this channel or create another channel. But I thought I would kind of mix in some of the real deal life stuff, and we'll just see how it goes.